Hello and welcome to Boxing Science TV. In this episode, myself and Alan Ruddock will be reviewing the last 3 years of boxing science and some of the highlights that we've had with some of our athletes. We'll be talking to Matthew Smith and Brendan Warburton at Sheffield City ABC and their involvement with student boxing. Our topic of the week will be a breakdown of the big fight between Canelo versus Golovkin. We'll be discussing some of the main talking points from a sports science perspective. Our exercise of the week are 30-second maximal sprints. Alan Ruddock will be demonstrating how best to utilise this session on the curved treadmill and on the watt bike. Hello there and welcome to episode 7 of Boxing Science TV. It's a very special week this week. It's our third birthday, so as a special occasion we brought in our special guest and co-founder Alan Ruddock. Alan, how are you?
Very good, thank you.
Good.
Well done on attaining third birthday.
Yeah, it's been a long road. It's gone quite quickly, really.
Yeah, it's gone really quickly, to be honest. Yeah, I couldn't believe it. But it feels like we've been going a lot longer.
Yeah. Unofficially a lot longer. But
yeah.
Officially, third birthday coming up on Friday. So just going to kickstart by talking about a few of our favourite parts of the last 3 years since 2014. What about yours? What's your review of the last 3 years?
Well, review of the last 3 years, it's gone absolutely, crazy for us. We've progressed so much in everything that we've done. Whether that's working on the website, working online, getting yourself with all the videos that you're doing and getting out on social media. But from a scientific perspective as well, and a training perspective, all the challenges that we've had to face and all the constraints that we've had to confront. I think my personal highlight from a scientific perspective has got to be the program that we put in place for the Kelbrook Triple G fight. Given the time constraints, given the weight issue, and everything else around that, and obviously the challenges and the threat that Triple G poses. I think from a scientific perspective and the way that we collected the data, the way that we analysed the data and programmed and changed things based upon that. For me, like I've said it before, it was almost perfect from our perspective. Maybe a few reps here and there, might have gone a little bit differently, but that was, from our perspective, absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, definitely, and it seems like a really easy one to say because obviously it was a huge event, a lot of media attached to it, and we built up a great reputation from doing that. So it seems like an easy one to say, but it's actually the scientific process that we had to go through. So a bit like when we talk to the boxers, talk about the best spars and the best fights, is when they're under pressure and they're against that bigger and better opponent, is where you see the best of them. And I think because we was given such a big task in a short amount of time, it brought out the best in us. So our program was to T, like we had obviously the freedom and all that attention being on that one program. Athletes come in twice a week on average. Some come in 3 times a week, and we don't really explore every single element what a sports science program should, because you can't do everything perfect because we've got all them. But that 10 weeks was all for Ken to get him in the best possible shape, and we put all our effort in. That meant that we could tick all the boxes, and we saw obviously a huge improvement in his performance.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we could do all the proper geeky sciencey stuff with him. That you read about in scientific journals and things. So we could get stuck into that a little bit as well, and and come up with our own protocols and way of working. And one of the things that we really learned and found from that was that intensity is absolutely key. And I think we'll be talking about intensity in a little more depth later on in the show.
Yeah, definitely. My highlights got to be right from the top of the sport all the way down to the bottom, where I've had 2 athletes that have hit low points in the early stages of their career, one being Callum and the other one being Jordan as well, both being inactive for different reasons. Callum being injured and I won the English title, got a bronze medal in the ABAs as well, and he had 3 shoulder surgeries. You know, people that have been watching Boxing Science and looking at our content for quite a while will know his journey, but it's not a great journey. It's not a great journey for them. And I didn't particularly enjoy it at the time. All I want as a coach is for them to be competing and them to be progressing. But that experience of being with athletes through their dark points and helping them come back, hugely satisfying. And as well, it's a great experience because I took some of the elements of what I learned from from Callum's like hard times and being out of the ring and being inactive. I took that into helping Jordan through his inactivity as well, like keeping them training, keeping them on the programme, working around like what limitations fighting and making weight brings, just keeping them ticking over, working on the strength conditioning, pushing them a little bit harder in their training as well. And they came back to the ring. Callum came back even fitter, faster, stronger. Like I said, first full season as senior this year, and he's ended up, you know, being ranked 4th or 3rd in the country now, and being English title holder. Then Jordan, we only saw that a few weeks ago, where Jordan absolutely smashed this guy up who, you know, came to win, and a tough opponent. Not many people do that to him as well. So, and now he's going to be in line for an English title shot. So, you know, being out of the ring for that length of time, but keeping ready, has made sure that they've had better comeback. So that for me is a highlight, not the period of them being inactive, but the experience and knowledge that I've got from that, and seeing them come out the other side much better.
Yeah, I think one of the key characteristics of being a very good coach or a good scientist is obviously knowing what to do, but knowing what to do when things go wrong is, you know, or when things are not ideal. That is the key characteristic.
Yeah.
And, you know, more often than not, you are, especially when you're learning, if you're a student, you are practicing your skills in a safe environment that only lends itself to you developing skills in a positive environment. And elite sport is often not a positive environment. It's sometimes a very dark place. And so one of the key characteristics is getting that experience so you know what to do when things are not ideal, when things go wrong, and then having that skills and knowledge and expertise to be able to still keep developing your athletes when you're in that position. And you only get that through experience, really, don't you? And fortunate having to go through those tough times. So,
So what are some of your other highlights? Obviously, you're into numbers and data, and we keep breaking records and pushing the boundaries all the time.
It is quite simple for me, isn't it? Being a runner and a cyclist, it's just about data and pushing the numbers, pushing the limits, because we know with the kind of exercise and the type of training that we do, if we're seeing data that's positive and the numbers are going up, then, you know, you're also probably going to benefit in the ring as well.
Yeah.
So for us to make it really simple is if we're seeing faster speeds on the curve, whether that's top speeds, whether that's mean speeds, or whether someone's reducing their speed a little bit less, or whether they're lifting a weight faster. For us, they are little wins, and they're just as important, you know, when you aggregate those, as a huge big win. Especially because then we know what we've done, we know what we've done well, we know what we need to change and improve or mix up. And for me, those are all the little successes that contribute to our performance. I was listening to someone give an interview the other day about, I'm going off on one again, it's not about astronauts this time, it's about Amazon.
Yeah.
And Amazon is so successful because of the number of experiments they run, you know, and their success is directly related to how many experiments they run in a year, in a month, in a day, in an hour. And the more experiments they run, the more data they can get, the more refinement they can make, and the more successful their program is. And that's similar to what we do, where, you know, we're always testing, we're always experimenting, we're trying new things out, we're collecting data. If we need to change something up, then we'll change it based upon the evidence and the data. And I think for us, when we do that, and when we sit down and we look at something, we analyse it and review it, we change our practice, that is a success.
Definitely, and I talked about the importance of experimenting in the Facebook training group, and a big highlight for me is the community that we've kind of built, and it's kind of grown, and not only is it happening in Sheffield, it's happening all over the world now, and that's through doing the Train Like Champion programs. And you know, we did it at first, we built up this audience, and we knew that we were getting some attention from places that we didn't expect, but when we actually looked at people that are actually buying and doing our programs, like in Australia and Mexico and America, and it's just like, it feels weird to me that our program and our message is getting out to them and kind of having an impact on their performance. And when I was on holiday in Slovenia and getting a message, do you want to come to my gym? And Andres, big shout out to you, he'll be watching. You know, I just thought, I mean, hey, like, all these people are following our things, and I was quite taken aback where we had 13 people come on a workshop in Liverpool, because people want to hear about what we've got to offer. We don't realise what a good job we're doing until you get that kind of feedback from other coaches using the programs and wanting to learn more from us.
Yeah, absolutely. It's, you know, for us being in it day to day, it's hard for us to, you know, sometimes take that bird's eye view and then look at actually, you know, what we've done over the past 3 years and how many people we've had an impact on, you know, for the better. And when we started out, it was, okay, what is the source of knowledge? What's the primary source of knowledge in boxing to prepare boxers to make them safer? And there really wasn't any.
No.
And so that has been the, you know, the starting ethos and something, the philosophy that we carried through, is that how can we get people to train and prepare as best as possible for such a dangerous activity. Yeah. And hopefully we've made the sport a little bit safer through the things that we've done and the people that we've helped.
Yeah. So we've had a worldwide appeal, but I think that a key thing with us is the relationship that we have with Sheffield City ABC, and seeing them grow as a club, and obviously got 2 universities now involved with that club as well. It's going to be bigger and better things in place for Sheffield City, and we've had some special nights with them. Talking about the student teams, and the students are back. You'll be nice to visit them.
Slowly down the corridors. We're all about intensity.
Yeah.
This is not the part of intensity.
Yeah.
They walk so slowly. Just speed up.
So the students are back, and our special feature this week is on Sheffield Hallam Boxing Club, and one person in particular, Matthew Smith, that is a great advertisement for University Boxing, because he started with no bouts, he had some mixed martial arts experience, and basically transferred into amateur boxing. He's been hugely successful, winning 2 varsity bouts, winning a Bucks gold medal, British University Championships gold medal, and actually winning something away from university boxing and becoming a part of Sheffield City Boxing Club. So we spoke to Brendan Warburton, head coach, about university boxing, and had a chat with Matt Smith about his experiences with Sheffield City ABC and boxing science. What's been the success for Sheffield Hallam Boxing Club over the past 2, 3, 4 years that you've been running it?
Yeah, our last season was a more successful season for both universities. I think in total there were 3 gold medals, 3 silver medals, a bronze medal in British University Championships. And like I said, we've been working with both unis with Hallam for 6 years now. So we're getting students in here, some that have boxed, some that have had other experiences, that have never competed. Matt, who's done a bit of mixed martial arts, come down here and transferred over to boxing. He's had a fantastic season last season. And again, you know, having a gym full of these good kids, when we're getting students in, you know, they're only got to look what's in front, as long as they put them off, you know. But these lads will work with them and bring each other through. And we've got Joe in here tonight, who's not boxed, who's been training about 8 months now. He'll be ready to go in September, so he'll be boxing for the club as well, getting some experience. We've got Joel as well, who's had a couple of bouts, but again, he's come here. It's about getting him experience, and then university championships, try and pick something up for the university, and then onwards. Really, it's a good stepping stone, bit of experience, and and then they can box for this club as well. And Matt showed last season they had a busy season, and he come back with Yorkshire novice belt. So Matt, he's going on to having nearly 20 bouts now, Matt. So we're moving on to the open class section in championships. So.
Yeah. So what's it like training down here at Sheffield City ABC?
Oh, it's excellent. Set up class. We do a lot of technique, which is something I love doing. I love practicing. So
Yeah. So you've been here for, is it your second year now?
Yeah. The second year. Third year's a placement year, which I've got in Sheffield, which gives us next year boxing, which is the main goal.
Yeah. So 2 years of training down here at Sheffield City. Come from a cage fighting background, mixed martial arts.
Not cage fighting.
Mixed martial arts background. How's that transition been? You obviously we're hugely committed to MMA and quite successful in MMA as well.
Yeah.
What's been that choice to actually, right now, I'm going to be an amateur boxer?
Well, I first came to Sheffield and there wasn't any MMA gyms, so I thought the worst part about my MMA game was my stand-up. So I'll come to a boxing gym and I've just fell in love with it.
Yeah, and it's great, like kind of the people in the gym as well. You've got a bit of footage of you sparring with Callum and Will. How kind of valuable is that kind of sparring for you?
Oh, it's excellent. It's not just the sparring either, it's them as role models.
Yeah.
You see them, how hard they work, and if you want to get to their level, you've got to work as hard as them.
Definitely, and you've got a good coach in Brendan as well. How impactful has he been on your boxing development?
Oh, he's been excellent. He works with you one-to-one, puts a lot of time into you. I mean, he's never out the gym.
Yeah.
He's dedicated as we are, and that's what you need in a coach.
A few little obvious things when he first come that you could see in his style, because he'd not boxed before, but he's got a great work ethic, and he also takes instructions on board really well, and he's also looking to learn. So with them kind of kids, it's pretty easy. He follows the lead, he sees what everybody else is doing, he studies everybody else. When people like Cal and more experienced lads are sparring, Rizard, he's here looking and seeing what he can pick up. So he's always thinking, Matt. And great season last season, because I think he got stopped his first bout on our show, and then to come back from that stoppage, put all the hard work in and get the success that he did, shows a real strength of character as well. Yeah. And we've got him now for another couple of years. We've got a placement here for another year. He's got another year at uni, so another couple of years. Yeah, could have had 50 bouts by then.
Yeah. So you've got your boxing science top on there. Been working with boxing science for a while. Yeah. How beneficial has that been for your strength and your fitness?
Yeah, never done any strength and conditioning before I came to Sheffield. First year boxing here, I didn't do any either, and then Brendan pushed it onto us to get down to boxing science and give it a go, and I've just come on leaps and bounds. Yeah.
Last year, winning that gold medal, first title as a boxer, how did that feel?
Oh, it was excellent. Just all the hard work's paid off.
Yeah, and how are you looking to progress for this season?
I've got the novice championships in middle of September. I want to go all the way and win that, and then build on that. Have a good season.
Really good link up, and it's important to us that we have that link with education as well. There's stereotypes of boxers that if they weren't in this gym, they'd be burgling your house. Which ain't true. You've only got to look down here, but also we've got kids here that are doing degrees and they're coming in and boxing. You know what I mean? It's not just a mugs game.
Yeah, for sure. So finishing off on Hallam Boxing Club. Yeah. If anybody's watching this, why should they get involved with Sheffield City ABC?
Yeah, well, like I said, we've got that link. We've got a link there. We do a non-contact session down at Hallam Uni, so fitness-based. a little bit of skills in there, but all non-contacts. I'm not going to get black eyes and flat noses and stuff. And then obviously the sessions, if they like it, they can come up here, and you know, it's not for everybody, but everybody can take some art in it. So even if it's just, you know, they want to come and get fit, then that's fine by us, you know what I mean? And we'll separate the people that want to take that step further and get through the ring. We've got varsity, Alan versus Sheffield. So a lot of people come in and they want to do that, you know what I mean? And that might be the only thing they do. They might, you know, want to get through these ropes. You can do that more or less anywhere now with white collar boxing, where they offer you 6 weeks training and then they chuck you in the ring. That ain't going to happen down here. You know, we like to see that people have got a grasp of the skills before they go into a bout. But like I said, as to get you through them ropes, there's no better really than that varsity show with a 900 sellout crowd for the first bout. You know, and rivalry between both universities. It's a cracking show and a great way. Like I said, Matt coming here, mixed martial artist, just wanted to work on his stand-up game. Ended up boxing in 2 varsities and Bucks Championships gold medalists. So you know, you can start like that and progress. Joe's never done any boxing before. He's going to be having his first bout this season. So yeah, you know, it's open to anybody, and it's not just competitive boxers. People want to come here, keep fit, you know, take something out of the boxing, take something away from this gym. Then yeah, that's all good in my book.
Okay, so our topic of the week is going to be a breakdown of the big fight of the weekend, Canelo versus Triple G. Now, it's not going to be a technical breakdown, it's going to be more of a physiological breakdown with the main man, Alan Ruddock. Basically, for me, I thought that it was a lot closer than people are suggesting. Saying that it's totally one-sided Golovkin and everything like that. I think that it was a draw, could have been the right decision. If not, Golovkin just shading it, but I couldn't argue with the draw. But we're here to talk about the physical aspects of their performance, and a lot of people talked about Canelo having them middle rounds. So the scoring of the middle rounds, basically I thought that was a little bit closer, but Canelo had a really strong start and really strong finish, and the middle rounds is where Golovkin started to really take over. And when I was watching it, I was actually thinking about some of the conversations you've had with the boxers about pacing strategies, how they like to go hard at first, and then the natural pacing strategy is to kind of calm down in the middle and then pick it up towards the end. So would you like to explain a little bit about that?
Yeah, I think when we've looked at Golovkin's performances in the past, and we've done performance analysis, so we had one of the performance analysis, Joe Stone at the university, take a look at, I think we had like 6 of his most recent fight before the Kel fight, and what we found was that he started off a little bit slower than his opponents, but then he always increases intensity up into the middle rounds. I think the longest fight that we analysed was only like 8 rounds anyway, something like that, against David Lemieux, I think, something like that. So, but he always increases intensity in that middle round, and that is actually quite a key characteristic of the way that Golovkin fights. And I think what we saw on Saturday night was a combination of the way that Golovkin likes to fight and the natural pacing of humans, basically. Yeah. And in most tasks that we do, let's say you've got a bit of work to do. Let's say you've got a bit of housework to do. It's a bit boring. You'll start off a little bit quick, and you want to get it finished. But then it gets tedious, it gets boring, and you ease off a little bit, and then you just do a little bit, and then you think, oh right, and they'll finish it else, and then you start to speed up. It's the same in running. Usually what will happen is athletes will have a fast start, and then they'll slow down and then speed up again. Same in cycling, exactly the same thing. So what you'll find is a fast start, a slower middle, and then an end spurt at the end. So imagine Mo Farah sprinting the last 400 metres in a 5 or 10k. That's the kind of end spurt that you see. And this pacing profile is what we saw from Canelo as well.
Yeah.
Now the middle section, whether that was natural pacing profile for him, I haven't looked at these other fights in much detail to see whether he does tail off there. Probably difficult to tell. Or whether it was from Golovkin stepping up like he usually does in those middle rounds, and then a faster finish from Canelo. This is actually quite a natural occurrence, and we also see it during training sessions too. So even whether that's in reps, so let's say it's a 4-minute interval, you can see there's a fast start, there's a lull at the end, and then there's a fast finish. Or whether it's something short as well. Usually we see this, whether that's in rep or whether that's between reps in a set or in a session. You'll see it. Let's say we're doing 2-minute intervals, let's say we're doing 6 reps. Usually the 4th or 5th rep is a little bit less intense than what it could be. And that's because when you're running so hard and you're giving so much, and you get into the middle part of the task, sometimes you feel a little bit of self-doubt and you don't actually feel that you've got enough left in the tank to give at the end. You know you're going to finish, but you just need to take the pace down a little notch just to make sure that you get to the end. Now, more often than not, you've got more than enough in the tank. It just becomes a confidence issue more than anything else. You know, you've got the fitness to get to the end, and you can actually increase intensity in that middle rounds. Now, what most people aren't aware of is this pacing profile. So where our boxers can get an advantage, and where you can get an advantage, is that if you know about this pacing profile, and you know that your opponent's following this pacing profile too, if you actually step up the intensity in the middle part of the task, what you're doing then is you're changing their perception of how much effort and how much performance they could bring to get to the end. So if you step it up on them in the middle rounds, or excuse me, or if you run it and you put a bit of a spurt on in the middle part of the race, what you'll do is to your opponent you'll think, I need to save a little bit more, or they're putting it on me here. I don't think I can compete this intensity. And you see how many fights you've seen that have swung in those middle rounds because of that change in pacing. So if you know that you can step up the intensity in those middle rounds, but your opponent doesn't, that's a huge performance advantage that you've got there. It's a psychological advantage, and it's a physiological advantage as well. And perhaps that's what we saw on Saturday night, is that we saw Canelo just thinking, you know what, don't think I've got it left in me, and he did back off a little bit more in those middle rounds, didn't he? And then he came forward a little bit more towards the end. So perhaps that's what we saw, and I think that was probably reflected in the scorecards as well.
So what can you do in your training to try and kind of take the middle rounds?
The first thing is to be aware of it, isn't it? Is to know that you've got more to give. So I think it's more self-awareness and belief, and particularly when you're pushing yourself to the limit, in every single session, it's being aware that you do have more middle rounds, and practicing that, and practicing pacing in those middle rounds, because that's what it comes down to. It comes down to pacing and managing your intensity, keeping a clear head, understanding what's going on around you, and being aware. So in terms of training, it's more psychological, it's more self-awareness, it's more pacing, it's more tactical, rather than anything that's physical, because you do the physical anyway when you're training. And then from a more scientific perspective, it's right now, how can you quantify that? So we do it all the time, like speed.
Setting them targets, and them targets to be hit every rep.
Absolutely. And even you could play around with pacing in there. So you could say the first part of the session has to be done at a moderate intensity. The second part of the session has to be done at a high intensity, and then back down to a moderate. you can play around with. We're working in that middle part of the of the session, or middle part of the repetition, or middle part of the rep, but just making yourself aware that you do have more left in the tank. And I think a lot of athletes suffer from that, mainly because they're not aware of that.
Yeah.
We all follow this U-shaped pacing strategy.
So Canelo did seem to be gassing a little bit within those middle rounds. Obviously, he was the one that was moving up in weight. I think he boxed Chavez at 164, but his natural weight is 155, 154, light middleweight, super welterweight, and he's stepping up to 160. He's got a lot of muscle mass. He's punching quite hard, and we're talking about Cal Brook earlier, the scientific process that we went through to make sure that Cal could adapt to that extra muscle mass being on. What things can Canelo do to make sure that carrying that extra muscle mass won't fatigue him for next time?
So if you look at the stats from Saturday night, you can see that he threw more. Did he throw more power punches than Golovkin?
Yeah.
Certainly, he had a larger percentage, but it was definitely comparable. And when you're loading up like that, then you've got to be able to deal with those demands, especially when you've got someone coming forward at you all the time. You've also got to move around, haven't you? You've got to even get out of the way, and then when you're counter punching against Golovkin, you've got to throw big shots. You've got to throw big shots to try and stop him. And so perhaps that contributes to a little bit of fatigue. Now the way that we prepared Kel is that we worked at the muscle level. So instead of working on the heart and the lungs, we actually worked on how his muscles were able to deal with an acidic environment for coping with that. So what Canelo could do, next time, hopefully there will be a rematch. But focus on dealing with acidosis, or producing high force actions at the muscle level. So you're talking like intervals around 2 minutes and shorter, really working on the periphery to produce high forces repeatedly. I think he probably does have the aerobic fitness to be able to do the 12 rounds against Golovkin. But whether he had the fitness to do 12 rounds high intensity and compete like he wanted to, or compete like he had to.
He had to be explosive as well, because he had Golovkin in front of him with an iron jaw, granite chin, and he'd be loading up much more. So a lot of boxers like that have that style, don't really replicate their style in their training. Canelo's explosive is wanting to produce high forces repeatedly across the 12 rounds, but then he's doing like kind of longer intervals.
Absolutely. You need to be able to be doing shorter intervals that accrue a lot of muscle, that place the muscle under a lot of physiological strain, creates a lot of acidosis, and being able to train the mechanisms that enable you to deal with that level of acidosis, that amount of force, that amount of energy that's being produced from non-oxidative sources. So I'm not really looking at the heart and lungs too much. You'll get some adaptation from that type of training, but looking really at how the muscle is able to produce high forces is key.
For sure. It's really interesting looking at the different tactics that I use in training in the fight, especially at elite level as well. So it's great to get your insight on that. Whilst you're here, we're going to move on to our exercise of the week, where you're going to be showing us how to best utilise the 30-second maximal sprint. So Canelo, if you're watching, we'll tag you in it. This is how to do the 30-second maximal intervals, whether you've got a curve, watt bike, or a treadmill as well.
This is our exercise of the week. It's a 30-second flat-out max effort sprint. Now, you might have seen in the videos that we do, you might have seen on the internet elsewhere, you might have even seen these in your gym and be thinking, what the hell are these banana-shaped treadmills? These are non-motorised treadmills, which means that you drive them yourself. So you push back on the belt, and if you want to do that now, Tommy, just to demonstrate. So you drive the belt back, and that will allow you then to run on the treadmill. So they differ from normal treadmills that you might have seen, which are motorised. There's a motor driving the belt, and you're just putting your foot on the treadmill belt and running along with it. Now these are really good because they allow our boxers to run at max speeds. They are curved, which means it makes it a little bit like running up a never-ending hill. And the things that we do on here, are pretty demanding, high-intensity efforts, and they've now got the nickname of the Devil's Hamster Wheel. So they're pretty horrible. In a second, we're going to get Tommy to demonstrate what we're looking for in our 30-second all-out effort intervals. Now, the key to these intervals is that you attack them from the very start. Often you'll get people who try and pace it all the way through. That's not what we want from this session, from these repetitions. We want max effort straight from the start. And we want to try and maintain your speed as much as possible. And there is a real physiological reason behind that. It's not just because we want to kill you. It's because that what you need to do is really change the energy state of the cell to ramp up the cell signaling responses, which then cause the adaptation. So when you're sprinting at maximum speed, you're recruiting a lot of muscle. And when you recruit a lot of muscle, you are changing the nervous impulses that you are getting, and when you do that, you're producing some substances that are then important for changing the way that your cell adapts to exercise. So it causes an adaptation in that respect. It's also important because when you're running at high intensity, you're also using a lot of energy. And when you're using a lot of energy at the cell level, you create a lot of different compounds, and they also feed into cell signaling responses. So if you can run as fast as possible at the very start, then you're maximising the responses from these signals. So flat out from the very start, and then just hold on. It's a little bit about quality, but it's more about how much force you can actually put down in the first 10 seconds, rather than trying to pace it and trying to just get through the session. So as long as you can attack it and give maximum effort, then you're giving your cells the maximum opportunity to do its job and adapt. So Tommy's now going to do a max effort sprint, just to give you an indication of how these sessions work. He's going to attack it from the very beginning, and then you're just going to hold on and try and keep his form. Right, ready?
Yeah.
Alright, here we go.
Have we got time?
115, 120.
Keep going.
Halfway through now. Right, keep it going. We're driving. 3, 2, 1. Stop. Alright. How was that, pal? I don't remember So one of the key things that we always try and do is try and quantify the demands of exercise. And what we were looking for there when Tommy did his max sprint were 3 data points of his speed. So we were looking for his max speed, and then his speed halfway through, and then his speed towards the end of the repetition as well. Now normally we would enter this data into an Excel spreadsheet, which then feeds back a lot of information for us, and gives us information about how well an athlete is progressing, what they're like compared to their other sessions, what they're like compared to other individuals. But you can also just write down on a sheet as well and keep a record of what kind of speed you're hitting there. So just as a reference point, if you have got a curved treadmill and you want to give this session a go, Tommy's max speed for you to beat there was 25.6 kilometers per hour. Now just to put that into perspective, the record is 31 kilometers per hour, set by yours truly. But those are the kind of speeds that we're after in these sessions. So the times in which we record the speeds are at 7 seconds, 17 seconds and 27 seconds, because we find that gives that as a better representation of the overall sprint. So at 7 seconds, Tommy's top speed was 25.6 kilometers per hour. Halfway through it was 21.6 and he ended at 19.7 kilometers per hour. We'll be looking for our guys to try and at least maintain over 20 kilometers per hour for those those that are fit. But these are also instrumented treadmills, so we can actually hook them up and we can actually record 100 times per second if you want. But when you've got 15 lads that are doing the sessions, trying to store and collect and manage all that data becomes troublesome. So 7, 17, 27 seconds, 3 data points. It does a good job of giving a representation of the kind of intensity for that set.
So Tommy, you're rested now and ready for your next set?
Ready for the next one, yeah.
On the what bike?
On the what bike?
So another key piece of equipment that we use sometimes when we need to change things up, whether someone's might have a little bit of a niggle, or whether we just want to deload, just take a little, add a little bit of variation into training, because we use the watt bike. You'll probably see these in gyms around the world and around the country. Absolutely fantastic piece of equipment, and we can also do 30-second max sprints on here. So the way that you want to set this up is there's really one key thing that you've got to remember, and that's knee angle. So Tommy, if you can just angle your foot down to the bottom dead centre there, what we're looking for is just a tiny bit of knee bend here. So we've got almost full extension, but we've got a tiny little bit of knee bend. So we don't want your foot to be completely straight at the bottom dead centre. You just want a tiny little angle there. If you ever reach to the handlebars, Tommy, usually this part is all about comfort, how it feels, but you don't want to be you don't want to be too far forward on here, so you can adjust this a bit and bring this out. Tommy might feel he's stretching a little bit there, so you can adjust that, and then same with the handlebar height as well. You don't want that to be too low that you're reaching down, because that might then actually cramp up your hips and not being able to apply force all the way through. Around the other side, you have the resistance setting. So this is wind resistance, air resistance even, not wind resistance. So 1 being really easy, 10 being really hard. Now, you might think that if you put the resistance up to 10, its maximum level, you might think that if you then try and cycle as hard as you can, you'll be able to hit the highest power output possible. But our muscles don't work like that. They work, based upon force velocity relationships and length tension relationships, and there is actually an optimum resistance. So for me, that is about 8.5, 9, not 10. So I found that to be ideal resistance for me to be able to do that combination of leg speed and RPM against the resistance, and that gives me maximum power when I'm doing my maximum reps. So the same physiological principles apply to this session, whether you're on the watt bike or whether you're on the curb treadmill or another treadmill or on the road. You want to attack it from the very, very beginning and give max effort, and then just hang on towards the end. So I think Tommy's going to give us a bit of a demonstration on this as well.
So on the 30-second max, we're
You're going to go 30 seconds flat out. So there are a few things that you just need to change in here, and we're just going to whiz through these just to get started. So initialising the same time period again, so we're going to record power at 7 seconds, at 17 seconds, and then 20 seconds. Okay, so we're going to do power here. Alright. All ready?
Yep.
Alright. 3, 2, 1, go. Go for it, lad. Good stuff. So we've got powers there of 770, 517 and 356.
Sound.
Definitely.
Cheers.
For a guy that's got a Strava account that's done 2 cycling sessions in the 2016, that's alright.
Thank you very much.
So this is where our athletes usually end their session. Either they are laid out on the treadmill or they come to this window. It's a short walk, maybe about 6 or 7 metres from our room where the curved treadmills are to the recovery window, which is where Callum and now Tommy is trying to recover from 2 30-second sprints. Now, if this isn't enough, we do have the recovery corridor, which has got windows that we can open pretty much all the way along. So I think we're gonna take Tommy there and end the video. So thanks very much everyone for watching. Please like this video, share it, and if you've got any questions, leave them in the comments below and we'll get back to you.